Everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 9th of October. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How are we doing, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. How was your weekend?
It was grand, thank you very much. It was good to watch Rangers win for a change. Though that was
one that was not ruined by Rangers for a change.
yeah, absolutely. So that was good. Good to see Rangers getting back to winning ways. Wasn't the prettiest to watch by all accounts down at Paisley, but Rangers defeating St Mirren by 3-0 thanks to a James Tavernier penalty and an absolute beauty of a strike late on from the captain, Abdallah Sima, scoring in between to keep up his scoring form as well. Chris, you were there for us. Before we talk about the manager search, we'll just discuss that game yesterday. I was pleased for Stephen Davis to get that win under his belt. I think there was possibly a surprise to see Zach Lovelace start, and we wish him well. It just sums up Rangers' season that he looked promising, and then suffered what looks like a really serious injury, but hopefully he's on the mend soon. I thought Ross McCausland did well when he came on as well. It was a potential banana skin that for Rangers. I think Strain's sending off is a sending off, and fair play to Stephen Robinson for not shirking that. He knew it was a moment of madness from his player. Nick Walsh sending him off, of course, goal scoring opportunity. Tavernier with a well struck penalty. In between that and Seema's goal, it was pretty turgid to watch, I've got to say. But Rangers getting over the line, Chris, getting back to winning ways. What did you make of it yesterday?
I thought it was a job fairly well done. Beforehand, everyone thought, no, this is a potential banana skin for Rangers. There's a fair few people that I know that may have had an investment on St Mirren round about the 61 mark yesterday. That thought it was not a bad. I thought it was not a bad price, and it was very hard to put people off. Anyone that fancies St Mirren, especially at that price, it was hard to say keep your tenner in your pocket, because they were in good form, been playing well, picked up a number of impressive results, and we all know that Rangers haven't been ticking any of those boxes in the last few weeks. But I thought they came through it fairly comfortably. The sending off at that time changes the dynamic of the game. Now, Stephen Robinson was really pleased with the application of his side, and pleased how they approached the game, what they managed to do in those early stages. When you lose a man and you lose the first goal, it's a double whammy, and it turned into a really long afternoon for St Mirren. And I thought Rangers managed the game and handled it fairly well from there. The Tavs goal right at the end, certainly the pick of the bunch, probably adds a wee bit of a shine to the scoreline that maybe not deserved. But overall, I thought it was solid enough. And as you mentioned, Derek, the two youngsters, Lovelace and Ross McCausland, showed up really, really well. Hopefully, it's not a bad one for Zach. Stephen Davis said post-match he was a bit down at half-time, and understandably so. But he said at the end of the game, he was feeling a bit more get upbeat about the whole thing. So hopefully that's not a bad one. Because I thought that first 40 minutes it was on the pitch, even just in terms of having a bit of energy about them. The Rangers have been so lacklustre and so lackadaisical during large parts of the season. Just having someone that was willing to get his head up and take a man on and fire the ball across and trying to make things happen. And to be fair to McCausland, I thought he did the same when he came on. Really impressed with him over the time he had on the pitch as well. So things there that are positive for Rangers. Overall, I was more pleased for Stephen Davis, as you said, Derek. He's been handed a really difficult situation. I thought he handled himself really, really well over pre and post match over in Cyprus. And I think it was important for him that he got that win. It keeps things ticking over. By all accounts, it will be his final game. Now we expect a manager to be in ahead of the Hibs game after the international break. And if that is to be the case, Steve Davis can say, well, he's come in, he's steadied the ship, he's more than done his bit, and it's then over to the next man to come in and hopefully pick up and take Rangers forward.
Yeah, we'll discuss that shortly. A bit of development on that front. Lots of comments coming in. Bob with the point, another two for Tav. Peach of a strike for the third. Get him up front. Echoed by Colin Cameron. He says, morning lads, hats off to Tav for 2 goals and an assist. Is it time to move him further forward to make the play and put a defender behind him? Listen, I think that's a debate that we've discussed on many a show. But listen, I think he's come in for some criticism. I think it's been warranted at times, Chris, for his defensive side, and his leadership qualities have been called into question as well. But offensively, you can't deny the guy has been an absolute revelation for Rangers, and again, coming up with the goods yesterday.
If you look at, if every player was judged solely on numbers, then Tav's place in the it's incredible. I thought he took the penalty really well, and I slotted it away at an important
pressure penalty as well, wasn't it?
Because he has missed a couple over his Rangers career. I think there's this narrative that every time Tav gets a penalty, he scores it, and that's why his numbers are as good. He's missed his fair share for Rangers, but at that stage of the game, in as we say, a really potentially tricky afternoon for Rangers, it was important that they got the first goal just to settle everybody down and get them off and running. The third one is just an unbelievable strike. It's just straight out the top drawer, straight into the top corner. There's a fair play to him for that. The debate of where he plays will be had forevermore. If a new manager comes in and plays him anywhere else but right back, I would be amazed. I think that's just going to be where he's playing in this team going forward. But as we've discussed over the last couple of weeks or so, there's definitely more to come from the likes of Tav, likes of Goldson, likes of Barisic, the more established members of the squad. They've got a really big part to play during the second half of the season and under yet another new manager. So hopefully that's an afternoon that Tav can kick on from in terms of his overall performance. But as you say, Derek, the actual attacking output has never been in question.
No, Stephen Gillespie with the point. He says, played Tav where Lovely's played yesterday, top scorer every year on year, no brainer to me, he says. Another bit of news from the game yesterday, Chris, was of course the banner. The Union Bears unfurled a banner. It said, heartless, passionless, leaderless, not fit to wear our colours. Stephen Davis was asked about it in this post-match press conference. He says people are entitled to their opinion. Players share the same frustration as the fans. We get the opportunity as staff to change things on the pitch. This is not where I wanted to be, as I wanted two positive results from the two games, but I just thank them for their effort and their desire. It's not easy with a quick turnaround after Thursday night. I couldn't have asked any more from them in terms of what they have given me. What do you make of the banner, Chris? Fans entitled, certainly making their feelings known after what we've witnessed recently. Certainly that this season, it's not been what we expect from a Rangers side. But you think that was a fair banner yesterday?
I think the reaction to it, I saw the banner going out, took a picture of it and put it on social media, and I think the comments under that post and what we then saw online probably are reflective of the mood of the support. And I was not completely behind it. There were some saying it's not the time, it's not the place. That you should be there to support the team and give your full back into the players. I do understand that, but I think it was always likely to happen. A number of the guys in the press area had a look over just as the teams were coming out to see if there was going to be anything in terms of pre-match display. And then that one also then caught our eye just as Rangers were preparing to take the corner up the other end. So I don't think it was a surprise that it was there. Everyone is entitled, as Caroline says there, everyone's entitled to an opinion. Everyone is entitled to make that opinion known. And I think that the reaction to it was overwhelmingly in support of it. The fans are paying, as we said on Thursday night over in Cyprus, fans are paying good money. They're putting in time, money, effort to go and watch this side. It's not been repaid in the manner that's deserved, in the manner that's required. So I don't think it was a surprise that the fans were going to have some form of display. Whether the players noticed it, whether it hurts them, whether they care about it at all, only they will know. But I think it was probably the right thing if the fans to do, and that's been shown by the reaction to it since.
Yeah, A few comments coming on the back of that. Stuart Wood raising the point, they pay their hard-earned money to go watch the games. If they aren't getting entertainment, they have a right to complain. Right, let's move on to the managerial search then, Chris. You broke a story last night, and just off the back of that, incidentally, you get a bit of praise coming in here from Joe. He says, Christopher, you've been really good for exclusives and fast info recently, and wanted to say cheers and keep it up. So that's always nice on a Monday morning. Thank you very much for your kind words, Joe. What is the latest, Chris?
The latest is Rangers still don't have a manager. But the process is picking up, and I would hope by the end of this week we'll still have hopefully have a bit more insight, a bit more clarity on who the next Rangers manager is going to be. James Bisgrove was at the game yesterday. He will join. He'll join John Bennett in London this week to go through the final rounds of interviews. The club remaining very tight-lipped on how many interviews they're doing and who they're going to be doing those interviews with. But that's obviously what we're trying to find out for you. But the process will kind of finalise over the next few days. The club have got they've whittled that initial list of candidates right down. They've now got this X number, undefined number of people that they're speaking to. I say hopefully by the end of the week we'll have a bit more clarity on who the next Rangers manager will be, and I'm hoping there will be a new man in the dugout for that Hibs game next week.
Yep, reports claiming that Graham Souness may be on the having a part to play in terms of who will be the next manager. Good thing for you, Chris, if that's the case.
I think one of the key points of this whole process, in a sense, even long before Michael Beale lost his job and was sacked, I think there's been this discussion over the lack of football man on the board, or lack of football man at the club, if you like. And also the chairman and the board members are all hugely successful in their own respective fields. Now they've made their money and are now putting their money into the club. They don't have experience in terms of being in a dressing room and knowing the game in the same way that an experienced football person would do. Same with James Bisgrove. His background is not training sessions and football managers. These are the guys that are obviously overseeing the process. And I say James and John are the two that will conduct the final interviews. But I think it's important that they do take soundings from people within the game, and they try and have as broad a range of opinions as possible. Now, obviously, it will be those two that will make the call. That whoever they choose as the preferred candidate, that then will be put to the board for final approval. There's obviously investors in America and investors in the Far East that will want to be kept fully abreast of the situation as well. So there's a lot of people who will obviously want to have a say and who want to be involved in the process. But I think having someone like Souness or like other former players, I think that's important to do. The club do take as many different opinions as possible, because as we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, Rangers have to get this one right. They have to be as sure as is possible. No guarantees with anything, of course, but they have to be as sure as it possibly can be that this manager is going to be the one that's going to win 56 and it's going to be a sustained success for them. So the more opinions and the more background checks, the more information, the more knowledge they can build on every candidate, that can only be a good thing.
Yes, and let's get to a few comments that are coming in just off the back of that on potential candidates who are on the shortlist. Well, first of all, Mark Robb says, Chris, thanks for the news that Lampard is not coming. Made my day. I'm sure it made a lot of people's day when that news broke that he is not in the running to become the new Rangers manager. I've seen reports of another name that is causing a bit of consternation amongst some of the comments that are coming in. Stephen Gillespie with the point here. He says, heard Scott Parker mentioned. Personally, wouldn't mind Parker. Called his players out, so maybe has a bit of grit to him. And Andrew Stewart says, Chris, please tell me Scott Parker is not one of the four others reporting that he is. I'd rather Lampard than Parker. Of course, did a good job at Fulham, and then had a difficult time, you could say, at Bournemouth. He came out in the press, didn't he? And publicly slammed, I think, the ownership or what have you. And he wasn't long in the job after that. Had also a difficult spell in Belgium with Club Bruges. Didn't quite work for him either. Scott Parker is a name that's been mentioned. I know when we did the Michael Beale sacked instant reaction show last week, Chris, he was on that betting list. I'm not too sure he would be the right man to take Rangers forward. What's your opinion on that?
Personally, I don't see how Scott Parker is the best of the names. Now, how many names do you think we're at now, Derek? At 3 dozen or so that have been linked with this, have been linked with this job. Out of all of them, for me personally, I don't think Scott Parker is near the top of that list. I think now you're looking at, like, say, Jansen potentially, looking at Muscat, looking at Clement, who I think is probably the pick of them for me. But who knows? Now, there's still also still days and days of speculation and talk, and we'll obviously endeavour to try our best and narrow it down as much as possible and to finally get that name. But it's, again, as I've said previously, I think the breadth of names shows that there's no one candidate that the fans are really getting behind. Now, there's some people would actually quite like a Scott Parker. Not many people were keen on Frank Lampard. There's people that fancy Clement or Jansen. I know there's a lot of fans that like the look at Kevin Muscat. There may well be candidates who have not been named yet and whose names have not come out yet. So the whole situation, I say we're hoping that it will can come to a head over the next few days. But I think that as that many different names, and I say everyone has got their particular favourites. I've seen some wild suggestions for manager and assistant manager pairings, even wilder suggestions for manager and director of football pairings. Just on director of football, I know there's a number of comments coming in asking about the director of football, sporting director. As Spee said in a piece one day last week, I've lost track of the days, but I read a piece last week saying director of football is something that's on the table. Now, the club haven't ruled that prospect out. The manager is the priority right now. The manager is the process that they're working towards. The manager will be the first appointment, and I think once they've got that appointment made, and they then see how he builds his backroom staff and how the football infrastructure then looks, that will then maybe be time to go back to the drawing board and think if a director of football, sporting director fits into that structure. But don't expect to see a director of football appointed on Thursday and then a manager being appointed on the Friday. That's not how it's going to be. Now the manager will be the main call, and that's the only one that the club are working on right now.
Yeah, Ian Thompson with a point he messages in. There's no point in rushing. Take your time and get it correct. A thought out selection process required. Scott 05 says, who's on the shortlist? Like you say, Chris, there's been a host of names linked. I think Clement and Muscat are there. They have been spoken to. I think they will be spoken to again. I've seen that Oliver Glasner, the former Frankfurt coach, mentioned as a possibility. We touched on Scott Parker there. Pascal Jansen is another one that isn't going away, the AZ Alkmaar coach. I think it's those are sort of the names I think that possibly are on that shortlist.
It's a short list of undefinable length at present, unfortunately. And trying to ask various people how many names are actually on this list, and nobody's willing to commit a number to it. I think it's the good thing is that Rangers have got this time to work through this process. They're not being rushed into a case of, well, we sacked a manager on Sunday and we need something for Wednesday. Let's just go and interview the first 3 guys who fire in their CVs. I know there's a lot of interest in the job, a lot of agents doing their job properly and putting various names out there. A number of names have obviously been knocked down. Rangers have kind of whittled it down to this group of guys that they're looking to speak to. But I think the number of names that have been put forward probably still shows. I know we spoke, I think it was last week, Derek, about how big a draw will this Rangers job still be, and the fact that there is as many names are coming from also Scottish ones, guys from down south, Championship, former Premier League managers, also some European interest further afield in terms of Kevin Muscat, it does show that there is still a huge draw and a huge lure of being Rangers manager. So hopefully over the next couple of days we'll finally get somewhere. And I know myself and Josh and yourself have got some pieces on the website the next couple of days to look a bit more in depth at the potential candidates, how the process has unfolded. And then once we've got a name, we can start now really getting into the style of play and potential signings and how the new manager will look up. So I feel sorry having to keep saying patience, but no, patience will be a virtue, and the fans will get their man. Hopefully over the next week.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard some fans saying who would want the job, but listen, Rangers are one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's a very attractive job for many managers out there. So, yeah, listen, the shortlist is a long list at this moment in time. We don't know how many names are on that. Rangers keeping their cards close to their chest. Jim McCarroll raising the point. He says, Derek and Chris, who do you think will be your next manager? I have no idea, Chris, I've got to be honest, and Jim, no idea whatsoever. If I were to choose one, I had we spoke to a Japanese football journalist, Dan Orlowitz, who spoke in detail about Kevin Muscat over there at Yokohama. I like the idea of the 11 players playing attacking football. It was it certainly perked my ears up. Certainly we haven't seen that much this season or last season, to be honest. So, yeah, Kevin Muscat, I wouldn't be opposed to him pitching up at Ibrox. I think Philip Clement has got the credentials as well. Pascal Jansen. I'm going to speak to someone about Pascal Jansen this week, folks, in the next day or two, and ditto Oliver Glasner and about Philip Clement as well. I'm speaking to a Belgian journalist this evening, so we'll get more info on those. But Muscat and Clement, for me, Chris, I think either of those I would be pretty satisfied with.
If I knew who it was going to be, Jim, I would tell you and get myself down to the bookies. Trying to say who you think it will be at this stage, it's really difficult. Until these interviews have taken place over the next couple of days, I don't think it's safe to say there's definitely the one candidate that's more likely to get it than not. As I've said, I think Clement ticks probably more boxes than most. I do like the sound of him, but whoever it's going to be, they obviously need I think Rangers will have to sell it to some regards. So it's not as if we're in the same situation when Gio got it. There was a huge kind of groundswell towards it, or when Michael Beale got it, there was a fairly big groundswell towards it. I think whoever it's going to be, Rangers do need to kind of sell it in a way, because I think there's question marks over a lot of them. And it'll be interesting to see just how proactive Rangers are in that regards of putting out the message of this is why we picked this particular candidate over the others.
Yeah, just on Jansen, of course, he guided AZ to a win over Ajax. We're in a bit of disarray at the moment. He says, Haggis Light says AZ winning 2-1 away at Ajax yesterday. I'm not sure who would be the only ones wanting Jansen, despite some negativity around that one. Watch this space, folks, with regards to that. There's a brilliant piece from Chris on the website. Do go check it out, just on the latest in terms of the managerial search. Joshua's got a great piece on there as well. He spoke to Thomas Buffel, who worked with Clement at Genk. So he talked about his training methods and what have you also. So go and check that out as well. Put the link in the description box before we wrap up. And just before I forget as well, Jaws gets in touch. He says, loving the updates on WhatsApp, by the way. Thanks, guys. Keep up the great work. Yeah, we have launched a WhatsApp group, folks. It's restricted to 2,000 members on there. I believe there's still a few spaces left. What I'll do is I'll stick the all-important link in as well if you want to keep up to date with all the latest Rangers news. This is an interesting point. I'm interested to get your view on this, Chris. Colin Cameron messages in. He says, let's hope Stephen Davis gets a role out of his service to the club and hope he's successful on his rehab to get back playing too. He was asked about that, wasn't he, after the game yesterday? I would like to see him. I mean, he's still technically a player at Rangers. I would like to see him firstly get back to fitness, and I wouldn't be opposed to him staying on in some sort of coaching capacity.
Like as Stephen said himself last night, the future is a bit uncertain right now. And he was asked, what the next 6 to 9 months hold for him, and he said, "I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring." That's just the situation that he's in. It's very, from his point of view, he was asked at really short notice to come in and do a job. I think he's more than done his best over the last week or so, and as expected, he's come in and handled himself with all the class and professionalism that you'd expect from Stephen Davis. He is still also going through the rehab. He will have a decision to make of, does he really push that over the next few weeks and few months to try and get back playing, or does he have to admit that his playing days are over? Once that decision has been made, it's then a case of, does he want to try and go through more coaching badges? Does he see himself as a manager? Does he see himself as a coach? Does he want to get into the academy structure? I would hope that if he decides that the time is up in terms of playing, and he wants to really pursue the coaching avenue in whatever avenue, I would hope that Rangers will treat him properly and will give him every chance. If there's a job going, and as a first team coach, perhaps it might be too high up the ladder right now. But maybe in the academy somewhere, I would hope that Rangers would give Stephen Davis every opportunity to come in and start off the next stage of his career, because he's obviously someone the fans have got huge affection and respect for. His place in the Hall of Fame is undoubtedly merited, a class act on and off the pitch. So hopefully, whatever the future holds for Stephen Davis, firstly, it's just he's fit and healthy, and he can maximise his life that way. But he did say yesterday, he's a positive person. He's got a positive outlook on life, and whatever the future holds, it will be what it will be. But we've certainly not seen the last of Stephen Davis involved in football. I would love to see him have one final appearance for Rangers. I think he more than deserves it. If there's a way of that he can be fit and he could get one last game at Ibrox, it would be great. But if it's not, hopefully we can see Steve Davis involved in the structure at Auchenhowie or at Ibrox in the coming months and years.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. This is what he said, folks, after the game yesterday. I was asked, do you want to be involved in the coaching team in some form? I've always thought that down the line I would go into management. This opportunity came out of the blue, and it's been a steep learning curve. I think I have learned a lot over the 2 games I've done this job. I've had a lot of support behind me in terms of the staff behind me and in the building. That has been massive for me and for the players as well. I just wanted to give them the tools to get a performance and result over the 2 games. We didn't do it on Thursday, but I am delighted for them and for everybody at the club that we managed to get a result today. Is then asked, have you felt the pressure of managing Rangers? Oh, 100%. It's intense, and I found that even in the short period I've been doing it, I didn't expect anything less, to be honest. It's intense as a player, but there are added pressures as a manager you don't have as a player, but it's been a good experience overall. So there you go, folks. That is the latest in terms of where we are with Rangers appointing a new manager. Hopefully we'll have news to bring you this week. We know that Rangers are busy interviewing potential candidates, and make sure you keep your eyes peeled on the Rangers Review site and on the YouTube channel for any news that breaks. Jim McCarroll messaged and says, what's the WhatsApp link? I'll post it once we're finished up here, Jim. I'll stick it in the description down below the video. Click on that. If you're on WhatsApp, you should be able to join. And just a reminder as well, you can see the ticker below if you're watching us on Facebook and YouTube. We've still got that great offer on the site. Loads of you actually taking advantage of it, so thank you very much for doing so. Just £4 for 4 months worth of content, or you can take out an entire year's worth of a subscription for just £18. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. Big thanks to Chris and to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. And we'll speak to you. I'll be back later. As I mentioned, I was speaking to a Belgian journalist about Philippe Clement. So hopefully you can join us for that. If not, we'll speak to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.